All right, guys, we're back by popular demand. Today's recording is brought to you by Zachary in upstate New York. Guys, today we're going to talk about a system that is having issues with heating. It's down here at the bottom, recorded on January 8th. It's a 15-hour and 54-minute clip. We're in Service Checker 4 on a VRV4 system. So let me go ahead and pop this up so we can get cooking. All right, so when we look at VRV service checker data, guys are going to want to populate these things here and look at them and watch them with a fine-tooth comb with a million other things populated. I think that is the wrong thing to do. I have no problem telling people that they are wrong, right? So we're going to talk about operation control modes, which I have a video about this, so I'm really not going to talk about it. I'm just going to mention it. We're going to use operation control mode to determine what the system is doing at any given time. Again, if you need that list, I'll add a link to the video. Here is also the list that I'm going to be going off of. But let's talk about service checker data because that's what we are here to learn about. All right, so we know that the system isn't heating. How do we know that? Control mode 19, which is right here. You're going to see a lot of red Sharpie marks all over the screen. Oh, just kidding. Blue throwing you off there. 19, we know that 19 is what? Let's bring it over. Come on down. 19 is right here, fixed heating control. Fixed heating control means that the system is in fixed heating mode. It has a target. It is going for it. Here we go. So I'm in heating mode, not parallel operation, 100% heating mode. I also have two modules. How do I know that? I can scroll down in my service checker data and I can see that I have two modules. Today's main focus is going to be on the three pillars, mainly discharge superheat, and I'm going to show you why it matters, why it's important, what it is, how we find it, all the little tiny tidbits. I'm going to blow some minds. So operation control mode. What do I know about heating mode? I don't need to look at my target evaporating pressure. If anybody has told you that it uses both at any given time, they have no idea what they're doing. You should run in the opposite direction. In heating mode, we are looking at target condensing pressure. In cooling mode, we are looking at target evaporating pressure. Well, what about parallel operation, Roman? Well, guess what? Parallel operation, it all just depends on who is calling for what and what the demand is. If the demand for cooling is higher, it's going to use target evaporator pressure. If the demand for heating is higher, with that load split on parallel operation, it's going to switch over to target condensing pressure. How do we see this in a system? We can plot these two at the same time with parallel mode operation and watch it drive to one over the other. It's going to go to one. It's not going to go to both. Whichever one it's driving to in that system, or I can go and look at the spread on the indoor unit demand for those in heating and in cooling and kind of determine, hey, if I've got 16 indoor units and we have 10 that are calling for heat and we have 4 calling for cooling, it's obviously going to be controlling off of target condensing pressure. I plot that on the graph and I look at that in that timestamp to find out what is it doing and why. Okay, that's heating, cooling, parallel operation. I'm giving that one to you for free, like everything else that I'm doing here for that little tiny nugget. That's not what we're here to talk about. He has problems in heating mode. Okay, what are his problems? Well, I don't know. Let's look at the data and figure it out. His problem is the system is just running irregular. It's insufficient heating. It's probably crappy. I'm gonna keep from cussing here. Crappy defrost patterns. So let's start there, right? When I have a problem in heating mode, I don't like to look at suction superheat yet, right? I kind of like to save some surprises for the end. So let's just look at compressor temperatures. Remember, my last video, we talked about only plotting a few points that we want to see. So let's just do the ones that I love to see, and that's discharge superheat. How do we find discharge superheat? Discharge pipe temperature, right? Subtracted from my condensing temp. My condensing saturation temp. There's that word, saturation. Oh, it's like silk to my ears. Saturation. Why does saturation matter? Because this is refrigeration and we need to know what it is. Is it a liquid or is it a vapor? And the way we find that out, if it's below my saturation temp, guess what, guys? It's It's a liquid. Woohoo! There's some confetti for you. If it's above my saturation temperature, guess what it is? It's a superheat. Have some more confetti. Congratulations, we just covered the basics of AC and refrigeration. Superheat and subcooling, it all varies based upon one number, and that is our saturation temp. This is our saturation in evaporator. This is our saturation temperature in the condensing area of the system, aka discharge temp. Because that's where the pressure sensor is. It all depends on where the pressure sensor is, which we could go on a whole tangent, which we're not. I'm going to focus. ADHD might be kicking in here a little bit. So discharge compressor temperatures, and we have our condensing temp. Now I have my favorite number, which is discharge superheat. Why does discharge superheat matter? It tells us the quality of compression within a compressor. If I know that my suction superheat is good, I'm getting a 10-degree suction superheat. I'm getting 100% vapor of the right volume back to my compressor, but yet my discharge superheat is high. It's higher than 72. That range is 32 to 72, which we talk about in the 3 pillars video. If it's above 72, the difference between good vapor coming in at 100% quality into my compressor and high discharge superheat coming out of my compressor, the difference is a lack of oil. That's what science tells us. The difference is a lack of oil. There's no other reason why my temperature would pick up why would my refrigerant would pick up a huge amount of heat if it's the right volume, right? If it's the right volume coming in and temp, it should be the right volume and temp coming out. If it's not, that additional friction we're picking up is scroll plates on bearings, rubbing together without any kind of lubrication process. It's metal on metal action, which creates excessive friction, which we now know goes into the refrigerant, which we can measure. All right, so that's discharge superheat and why it matters. Let's look at what my system looks like. Now, you're going to find the guys who are like, okay, we need to enhance, and zoom in, but this isn't Super Troopers, right? We're going to zoom out, right? The key to looking at a lot of data in a very quick manner is zooming out. We pick one thing and one thing only, and I zoom out. And that one thing today is discharge superheat, and I zoom out. Okay, so now you've got it. Now that we've zoomed out, what does this look like over time and why? So we kind of see it's a little bit of a weird start. Why are we having spaghetti for lunch? I know why, but do you know why? If we look at this green line that I put on the screen, ooh, operation control modes, ooh, second video plug. If we look at this, we notice the green line changes. Well, why does the green line change? It changes because guess what? The system is doing something different. It says I was in fixed heating control mode, but then I'm going to go into something else. And that something else is, how do we figure that out? Mode 23. Okay, well, what is mode 23, I ask? Well, I'm going to go ahead and just cheat and jog this chart back over again. Wait a minute. Mode 23 is heating before defrost. It almost got me. Why does that matter? Now I know the system is doing what? It's no longer heating. It's getting ready for defrost. Why is defrost important? Without defrost, we have ice coils all over the world and no one gets heating capacity and the heat pump movement is over. It's dead. Right? Defrost is important. This is heating before defrost, which means the system knows that it's about to go into defrost. And guess what? If you didn't know that, how are you going to tell that from on-off control? You're not. That's the answer, right? That's why troubleshooting using operation control mode is levels above these stinking on-off controls that you see at the top. Now I know this entire window at the beginning is doing something different to get ready for what? Defrost. Okay. Now that we know it's getting ready for defrost, let's look at defrost. This is a very quick and simple check for 2 things. One, the duration of defrost, which is very important. Extended durations are usually an issue with charge. Not saying over or under, just saying an issue with charge. Could be either. And then also, this allows me to check my four-way valves in less than 60 seconds. And I'll set a timer if I have to. Less than 60 seconds, I can check all 4 of these four-way valves. All 4 of these four-way valves. Say that 5 times fast. I can check all 4 of these four-way valves extremely fast and not have to go out to an outdoor module or look at anything. Ready? Okay. So we know we're going into defrost. It's prepping for defrost. Now what I need to do is I need to add my 4-way valves. Not my dual gas because I'm not worried about that. We're not switching modes, so that doesn't matter to me. Filter out the information that matters and add what only we need to see. Wow. Look at that beautiful pattern. Now I can see, right? This is one set of 4-way valves in this little tiny snippet here. Let me start circling some things for you. This is one outdoor module. The other set here is another outdoor module. What do we know? What's the difference between these 2 things? One is short, one is really long. How long is that? Well, I can click here and I can see my timestamp, which is located down here in the bottom right, is 1646. And then I can go back and I can click here and it is 1747. This is an hour long, not just an hour long snippet between the 2. This is an hour long defrost. Wow. 60 minutes of continual defrost, right? That's a marathon of defrost. We don't want that. That's not good. This defrost is really short. This defrost is really long. There's a problem. This is a red flag. And I haven't even gotten out of the gate of the data. We haven't even gone to the next section of data. This is just the first 2 hours. There's so much information here that it's unreal. So we know that that's defrost from here to here. The next thing I'm going to have you do really quickly is just let's do some quick checks and verify that the right coils are cold and the right coils are hot. That's how we know whether four-way valves are stuck. Now, he's not saying that they are, but again, this is an easy check that we can do, so why not do it? We're here to check things. Let's check it all. There's no half button this, right? Wow, look at that. Really dedicated to not cussing today. 95, 98 degrees, okay? This says it's supposed to have hot gas in the outdoor heat exchanger. Is that correct? Bing, 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 bing. It is correct. Okay, those four-way valves have shifted. We're good there. Now let's jog on over to our other module and see how it does in defrost. Let's jump into the middle of here. All right, and we look at this now, 131 and 136. Bing, bing, bing. These four-way valves work. That was less than 60 seconds, and I had to explain it to you. Both of these four-way valves shift the way they're supposed to, and the gas, hot gas, is going to the right coils at the right time. So those are good. It's not a concern of mine anymore. Not that it was at the beginning, but again, if it's this easy to check, guys, just do it. It's good to go. But here's something I'm going to point out, and this is just because this is me and I have a very keen eye to attention to detail, and it's something that you guys will get over time by looking at stuff like this and knowing to look for it. Let's go a little bit deeper here in this defrost, and this is just because we're peeling back the onion on defrost all of a sudden. Well, I want to show you something really quick. 95 and 98 degrees of defrost temp, okay? That's fairly warm, right? I would swim in a pool that temperature, okay? We go through here, it gets hotter, 129, 136. That's hot. I like that. That's good. Okay, let's go to my other module and do defrost. Okay, let's go up to my other module to look at the defrost. Okay, what is your coil temperatures? 69.8 and 66.2. I would not go swimming in that pool when I live in Florida. That is cold water, right? Why is that cold? That's really cold. We're at defrost. Where's the heat? Where's the hot gas? So let's walk through this. It's shifted, and it takes some time, and it takes some time, and it takes some time. Why is it taking so long? We're at 71 and 86, or sorry, 71 and 80.6. It should not take this long. Look, if we look at these two snippets right here, between the first and the second, I'm already into the same time amount, if not close, to my first defrost cycle on my other unit, and it's taking twice as long, and I still haven't even gotten hot yet. This is a second key indicator that there is a charge issue on this system. Not only does it defrost, does the gas go to the right place, is it the right temperature, that's four-way valve checking operation, that's quick and easy. Also, the duration of defrost. Now, we know that one is much longer than the other, an hour long, which is insane. Unless we're talking sub-zero temperatures for my boys out in Canada, right? Out there. It's not, right? So when we look at these two, that's a problem. But also, what does it look like when it defrosts a second time after giving away all its heat? Does it build back up like it's supposed to pretty quickly? And the answer is no, it doesn't. Now, it does get there over time, so I do have to give it to the little steam engine that could. It did chug away until it got there. However, it still took an hour to defrost this coil, which one of two things. Again, refrigerant charge, which is what I'm leaning towards, or we could also have faulty sensors or sensors that are misreading that would cause it to run this long because it thinks that there's still ice when maybe there's not. All right, that is a long tangent on defrost. Let's move on. So as we're moving on here, we're going to get down to the end of this. And again, I don't like to troubleshoot in special control modes. Now, they teach you this in class. Can you? Of course you can. However, when we talk about special control modes and we think about special control modes, there's so much gray area there that Japan has not shared with us. Even internal people, which I'm not internal anymore, but when I was, there's a lot of information that we don't know. And because of that, if we're going to start troubleshooting in special control modes, you have to have a firm grasp of understanding of what that control logic is and how it operates. Otherwise, you're making a lot of assumptions, and everybody knows what happens when you assume something, right? And so let's move on and let's get out of defrost. I'm not a huge fan of troubleshooting in defrost. However, for the sake of duration of defrost and also quality of defrost at the time of switching, which we know is both poor. The other module, great. The second module, not so great. And you would say, well, Roman, would I be concerned about that module over the other? And I'd say, it depends. We've got to look at how the system operates over time to kind of get a good feel of what we're looking at here. And you're going to see why I'm not worried about it over time. So let's keep moving. Now let's get to a good spot here, right? So when I say a good spot, I like to see my stuff level out. And again, if it doesn't get leveled out, then we can address that on another video. But for this one, we want to get it going. We want to get it moving. We're back in fixed heating control mode number 19, right? Let's get going. Yeah, she's building pressure. She's building heat, right? You go, girl. Let's check our discharge superheat now. All right, so we're going to come in here and we are going to get our numbers pulled up here. Right, and so we're going to take our 240. I love taking the larger number here. 240 degree discharge pipe temp compressor number 2, and we are going to subtract it from, oh, I don't have populate on here, but it's right here. Condensing pressure, not condensing pressure, sorry. Condensing saturation temperature, right? We don't talk in pressure anymore. That's below us as VRF techs, right? We don't talk about pressure, we talk about saturation temperature. Come on now, guys. 95 degrees, right? So we're going to use 240 minus 95. That is 145 degrees discharge superheat. Now, what's the range? 32 to 72. Is this above 72? If you don't know the answer to this, then please stop watching this video. It's 145 degrees. That is crazy high. That is an insane amount of discharge superheat. It's like we're going to the moon and you're not stopping us. This tells me one of two things. I either have a lack of refrigerant going through this compressor, or I have so much oil missing that I'd almost think that someone stole it, right? I would enter a political joke here, but I'm not going to. So we're going to keep moving. That's high discharge superheat, 145. And I can even take my finger across the screen if I wanted to and measure it and then work my way through it. But let's see not only what it looks like now, but the thing about Service Checker and the thing about data is that we need to understand it's not just about one specific point in time. It's how does this system operate over time, which is why we zoom out and not zoom in. While we're zoomed out, we're going to look at how it progresses over a 2-hour span, because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at 2 hours. How do you know 2 hours, Roman? Someone's out there asking that. 18.23.20, right? This is hour, minute, second. Hour, minute, second. We are looking at a 2-hour timestamp from here all the way to over here. And again, if I zoom in, those timestamps are going to get different, which is this button here, F1. See how that number changes now? Now I'm looking at a 1 minute window. If you got guys who are troubleshooting 1 minute window, you should be teaching me probably. So let's move on. Again, I'm looking at one thing. What am I looking at? I'm looking at discharge superheat. So because of that, we know this is 145. It kind of stays in the same range. 120, I would say that this number is, just by looking at it. And it stays high. And it changes, but does it really change? No, the numbers go lower, but they stay about the same amount apart, right? It's the red line and the pink line that we're looking at here, and the blue line, right? These are just two different modules. Blue and pink are also condensing temp, and one in each module. These temps are staying this far apart because there's an issue. Look at the brown line. It is on the moon, right? And let's go and look at that really quick. 237 is my discharge temperature in this module. Oh man, this is just, yeah. It's not good. This is really not good. This is when you get technicians who look at data and they see this and they just start laughing, right? So when we say 237 minus 86, 151. Now for the guys, I'm going to break this down for you really quickly. Basic math skills, right? We learned that FOIL, first, inner, outer, last. Oh, almost forgot it there. Watch out. We look at math equations. We want to make sure that when we're doing these math equations it's different. Discharge superheat is your discharge temperature minus your saturation temperature. If you get those two mixed up, you're going to get a negative number. It's not going to make sense. However, in certain applications, it's important to know those differences because you can get negative numbers on certain stuff. Suction superheat, we take the larger number first, which is going to be what? It's going to be your suction line temp and then your saturation temp, right? Those are the two that we want to just make sure that we're not mixing up here. Understand what numbers we're doing and how to do it so that we get the right numbers. 151, my gosh, that is hot. What do we also know about discharge temperature? Discharge temperature gives us an idea of the compression process within the compressor. This is a health check, guys, right? This is what the compressor does when he goes to get his prostate checked. They're looking at discharge superheat, right? In this discharge superheat check, we're seeing 237. We know that PVE oil carbonizes at 247 degrees. What does carbonize mean? It means that the oil starts to break down. That means that the viscosity changes. not for the better, for the worst. The molecular structure of that oil starts to separate, right? Most oils are a mixture of lubricating fluids to achieve a desired effect. This starts to break down. And so now you're having parts of the oil separate. You're losing that viscosity. You're losing that lubrication of the actual scroll plates. And it gets to the point where if you have a 237-degree discharge temp on your compressor, the internal components are probably 275 to 300 degrees. It's usually 20 to 30 degrees higher than what you're going to see on your actual discharge temp. This means that my oil in my compressor is cooked, right? If this was a turkey on Clark Griswold's table, it would explode like in the movie. This oil is awful. It's carbonized. It's trash. This compressor needs to be replaced. And I wouldn't just say this compressor because they're all the same. I'd say all the compressors in the system. And you're saying, well, Roman, that is a very big, drastic leap. And here's the thing about compressor oil. Once you let the cat out of the bag, you can't put it back in. Once the molecules start to separate and break down, you're not going to be able to recreate that oil or put it back together. And so because it's never going to have the same lubrication ability that it did when it came off the factory line and how it was assembled and manufactured from that specific process to make PVE oil, you're going to find that it's only going to wear the components unevenly over time, and you're going to have a failure. If it's not right away, like in this system, you're going to have it over time. And so why not start off fresh? Because remember, now your name's tied to this. This is your job. You own it. You own this process. If you see this and you know it because science tells us it's cooked, then it's your job to report it and make a recommendation of changing all 4 compressors in this system. Now, there's only 3, 2 in the master, 1 in the sub. I see that because of discharge temps. But either way, that is the discharge temperature and discharge superheat as a whole, and how we look at that and the way that the oil breaks down and the issues that go along with something like that over time. Again, we've got another defrost cycle there, only in 1 coil, not both. But I mean, look at it, guys. This discharge temperature, 246 now. Man, crazy, crazy, crazy high. This is not good. High discharge superheat is really not good. And I say high, 151 degrees. I even clocked it at 168 at some point. So let's step back, right? Moving really quickly. Let's slow it down, right? This is the part where I probably play some smooth jazz, get everybody nice and relaxed. Hold on. Actually, I think I might have something just for that. Let's see here. No, I probably don't. No. Anyways, okay, doesn't matter. So we're going to slow it down and we're going to talk about one of the modes that is designed to protect the system, however, kills compressors in the process if the charge is off, right? And that mode is oil return. Now, everybody talks about it like it's this beautiful process and it's great for compressors. And I would say, yes, it is. We're in mode 21, which is heating oil return control mode, right? Why does it kill compressors? If the charge is off and the discharge superheat is already through the roof, this is normal heating mode here. This is oil return mode in heating mode. What happens in oil return mode? We're creating liquid to get to the indoor units to scrub oil out of the coils and bring them back to the compressor. Yes, great, love it, mint. However, the problem is if your charge is off, you're not going to get oil back and your liquid's not coming back. And also the compressor that's already cooking, it now removes the safety controls from it. And it says, I'm going 120 miles an hour. Let me just close my eyes really quickly to catch some Z's. And it just goes through the roof. So the compressors go, yeah, full speed ahead, right? Full send. And so it's jamming that acceleration to go, get that oil back. But the problem is that the discharge superheat is already high. This is only going to cause more damage on the compressor, right? And now it's trying to create that huge amount of head pressure, that large amount of liquid to go through the system. And so let's look at it, right? Here we go. We're looking at discharge temp. Let's stay in this module just for the fun of it. And let's do some math really quickly. I am not above to use a calculator because I understand my limitations and I embrace them. 151 degrees, right? Wow, that is high. And that's the smaller one. So let's go to the 237 minus 73. 164 degrees. This is over 200%. 200% of what your normal discharge superheat should be. So hats off to you, Zachary. You, sir, are breaking records out there. And I know this is not you, this is your system. However, you are the one who sent in the data, and I really appreciate it because these are the things that really just, they make my year. So oil return mode. It serves a purpose. It's a great tool. It's a great application. It is not a design flaw before those of you who are going to jump to the conclusions. If you install it correctly and you charge it correctly and you maintain it correctly, oil return is a beautiful thing. Now, when the charge is off, the charge is messed up, the line sizes are the wrong size, the system is dirty, and the coils are dirty, and it goes into oil return, unfortunately, it does kill compressors. Now, it's not just the oil return mode, it's the repeat oil return mode of a system that is already having high discharge superheat, that already has the wear and tear on the scroll plates, that is just going to put it over the edge, right? This compressor is just night shift, day shift, night shift, day shift, just burnt out. Someone give this compressor a break. That is discharge superheat over the set of data here. And as you can see, it stays pretty much the same across the board. So we know that discharge superheat is crazy high. Let's look at suction superheat. Now remember, we're not going to get crazy and populate a bunch of stuff on the screen because that's going to just get us confused, right? We're technicians, we're easily confused. I'll own it. I'm easily confused, even though I've been doing this for a long time. We're going to take our suction pipe temperature and I'm going to look at my TE. What do we need to know for superheat? I need saturation temperature and I need temperature, right? Temperature of the pipe. All right, we're going to go back to the very beginning of the data set. Okay, and here we are. What is my suction superheat? Anybody? Oh, like I'm in a crowd here. We've got 23 degrees compressor suction pipe temp and negative 18. We can pretty much just add the 18 on top of the actual 23 degrees. What is that number? That number is 41 degrees. I have a 41 degree suction superheat. High suction superheat is an indication of a lack of vapor, a lack of quality of vapor, and a lack of volume, right? This is vapor. There's no liquid. There's no liquid in sight. This is a desert. This line is a desert. And there is nothing coming down this pipe. 41 degree suction superheat, 143 degree discharge superheat. There is zero vapor in this line. This line might as well be in a vacuum. That's how much refrigerant's getting back to this compressor. None. This is a charge issue. Now, wait a minute, Roman. We've only gone through the 2 pillars, and last time I checked, your video is 3 pillars, right? These aren't pogo sticks. There's not 1 pillar. This isn't, stilts. This isn't 2 pillars. It's 3 pillars. We're talking about a stool that we can build a foundation on here. So let's go for the last one. And again, that's just here. Oh, well, Roman, it gets better. It gets better, but, does it really? 23 degrees? What does it look like over time? Oh, it goes back up again. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's not good at all. Our suction superheat now is 50. So, it's going up. Woohoo. Does it stay that way? No, it comes down some, but then it kind of goes back up. It's not good. And whoa, here we go. That's what I like to see. It breaks the 50 mark. Now we're close to getting into the 60s of suction superheat. It's not good. That's the answer. Suction superheat, it's in the toilet, right? Discharge superheat, it's in the toilet. It's not good. Both of those are awful, which tells me I'm not getting enough vapor back to my compressor. Let's wrap this casket up with a nice big old nail of what subcooling looks like. And this is the best part because heating subcooling is like a whole nother animal. If you're not in a market where it heats a lot, and I get this a lot from people, they're like, well, you live in Florida, Roman, you have never seen no heating data? You ain't never seen no heating data? Come on now, guys. Refrigeration is refrigeration. I don't care what climate you're in, it's still going to do the things that we understand it normally does in a standard refrigeration system. But this one's going to kind of blow your mind a little bit. So when we talk about liquid, let me pull up my animation. I love this animation. Hopefully I didn't break it. No, I didn't break it. Okay. Let me move my little video controls thing here. When we talk about heating operation, we know what? We know that hot gas comes into the coil, creates liquid, then that liquid comes down, and it takes a nice little loop-de-loop around the system. It comes in, and it goes right to my liquid receiver. Where am I checking subcooling? Well, if you watched any of my other videos or have a basic concept of refrigeration, we should not be checking liquid coming right before my expansion valve. Nope. We shouldn't check it after my subcooling circuit. No. We should either check it entering my liquid receiver entering my module, or leaving my heat exchanger. Now, leaving your heat exchanger is one of my favorite things to do because you can do an average between all the coils connected, which is a little bit of a pain in the butt, but worth it. But again, you can also check the quality of liquid coming back to the outdoor unit, which is what we're going to do. So now that you've seen the nice, beautiful diagram, sorry I kept it away from you, this long, but let's jump over to actual service checker data. So what do I know I need? I need two things. I need saturation and line temperature. That's all I need, guys. Just two things. Two things in life. If only life was that simple and we only needed two things in life. Let's go here and find our... Oh, no, my mouse is messing up here. Let's find our liquid receiver temp. This happens to me. You look at so much data that you just like are staring at it, but you can't seem to find it. Inlet liquid temp here, and then we're going to go over and we're going to do our condensing temp. Remember, it's important to remember. It's important to remember that you want to make sure that you're populating the right saturation temperature and not the wrong saturation. We want saturation, which is pressure converted to temperature for that refrigerant in that location. So because we're talking liquid line, we're talking high pressure, I go to my condensing temp. Okay, so subcooling. All right, 41 liquid receiver, 46. Oh, wait a minute. This is special control mode. My bad. Let's get to another spot. Okay, 62.6, 62.6 and an 82. So, 20 degrees subcooling. All right. Well, wait a minute. What's this jagged cliff here? We're gonna jump off this cliff. Okay, cool. So we're jumping off the cliff. What happened? This is the part where guys throw their laptops off the roof because none of this makes any sense. We're at 95-degree liquid temp, but wait a minute. My receiver temp is 6.8. Holy crap, I just subcooled the crap out of this refrigerant. This subcooler is insane. But wait a minute, there's no subcooler involved in this spot. That's why we're taking this temperature. Well, how the hell do I have 6.8 degrees on my receiver temp and also a 95-degree saturation temperature? That subcool is off the charts. But is it though? This is where I enter that meme, Is it really? So suction temp, condensing temp, liquid temp. What do we know about all these things? They have specific properties at specific states. So we see that it jumps off a cliff. Now we want to know, why does it jump off the cliff? And this doesn't make any sense. Why does this not make any sense? Because 6.8 degrees and 95 degrees is a huge difference, which means that I have one of two things. I have a large amount of subcooling, or the more possible reason, which I'm going to show you and blow your mind, is this is a low pressure vapor. A low pressure saturated vapor. And you're like, wait a minute, this is a liquid receiver. The animation shows liquid. Come on now. That doesn't make any sense. Let's peel back this onion. So I'm at 6.8 degrees at my liquid receiver right here. And I'm going to change this color just to get this kind of point across to you. We're at 6.8 degrees here. We were 66, 20 degrees subcooling here at this point in the system. And now we're at 6.8 over a 95 degree saturation temperature. That is an insane amount of subcooling. That's close to 90 degrees subcooling. How do I go from 20 to 90? Well, there's just a lot of liquid there, Roman. Duh, that's the answer. But is it though? Because let's talk about it. If I get liquid that comes from here and it goes all the way over here back to my liquid receiver, what do I know about subcooling and quality of subcooling? Quality of subcooling means that we need to understand that where is subcooling? Where is subcooling? Subcooling is at my indoor heat exchanger. It's where the liquid is created. We want to go to the spot where the liquid is created. Now, I'm not saying you can't check it here. It's great to check it here, right? But how do we fact check that? We fact check that by going to our indoor heat exchanger and saying, what is the quality of liquid leaving my heat exchanger? It went from a vapor to a liquid here. Let me check the quality. So let's check the quality. And you're like, wait a minute, you have control of the screen. So go and check the quality. Here we go. Okay. Let's go inside. Here we are. Liquid pipe temp, 93 degrees. Liquid pipe temp, 93 degrees. Liquid pipe temp, 71 degrees. This is really hot. 94 degrees. 94 degrees. Wait a minute. So if I go back over my animation, you're telling me that I have 95 degrees here and here and here and here, but I have 6.8 degrees here. How is that possible? What happens between here and here? I'll tell you. When we look at that 95 degrees, what does that tell us? It's hot, right? It's warm. But what is the quality of vapor, right? Is it superheat? Is it subcooled? Let's look at it. So 95 degrees, we know this is 95 degrees. What is my saturation temperature, right? This is all about saturation temperature. It's 95. Oh no, I have 0 degrees subcooling at my indoor fan coils. Is that good or bad? That is bad. What happens if I had 1 degree subcooling, which I think I had on one of those indoor units? All right, I've got one. I'll give you one. 1 degree subcooling on my indoor unit. Great, perfect, 1 degree. What do you think is going to happen to that liquid when it takes a jog up and around the corner and around the bend and back over to my liquid receiver? It's changing to a vapor, guys. Come on. The 6.8 degrees is not 90 degrees subcooling. It is a liquid turning to a vapor. That means in my liquid line, I have a low pressure state. How do I confirm that? Because I have a 95 degree heat exchanger here that's at a 95 degree saturation temperature. And then guess what? By the time it makes it back to my outdoor unit, it's 6.8 degrees. What happens when a liquid turns to a vapor? It gets cold, right? It boils off and exchanges heat. It exchanges energy and temperature. That means that this liquid line is, guess what? Now a suction line. Your mind just blew. That's VRV and heating on low charge. And how do we confirm that? Okay, let's just, you know what, because your mind's already rattling and you're probably like, no idea what's going on here. And you're going to quit this trade now because this just doesn't make any sense. Let's go a little bit further. Let's look at our outdoor expansion valves. What do we know about expansion valves? If they're wide open, they're not metering refrigerant and they're doing nothing. If they're closed, they're pinching off refrigerant. They're not supposed to be doing that. Why? Because they're getting too much refrigerant behind it. That's a problem. We got to look at that. So if we look at this, 2,520 pulses. I'm getting all fired up now. 3,000 pulses. This is wide open on my outdoor unit. Means I am not metering any refrigerant. So if I jump back over to my diagram and I draw you some more pretty colors, this is wide open. I'm not getting enough. So what happens? This line is a suction line and it's supposed to be saturated liquid, but it's just vapor now. This is wide open, so we're not metering it. So guess what? It goes up the line and it goes across and back over, back to my liquid receiver. And guess what? All of that blue is now in a low pressure state because this is wide open. This is not metering any refrigerant. It stays in this state long enough and we lose control, and this now becomes a low pressure line back to my liquid receiver because again, we're not making any liquid, guys. That's what's happening. And you're going to find this on a lot of systems that are low in charge in heating mode when it's cold outside, that this line actually turns into a suction line if there's not enough refrigerant to push through it. Liquid receivers do what? They stack liquid. They generate and they stack liquid. They take it, they hold it. It's a storage tank for liquid. If there is no liquid in there and there's barely any liquid coming into it, over time, it's going to boil off into a low pressure state because again, we're not metering any refrigerant here. We have a high suction superheat. We have an insanely high discharge superheat. And we have no subcooling on our indoor units. And my liquid line is a suction line now, right? They don't teach you this in school. They don't teach you this at the factory. This is extreme undercharged on the system, right? And you'd say, well, Roman, what about valve pulses and all this stuff like that and blah, 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 blah. I don't need it because I see this, right? If I'm this far gone, there's no point in going any further to conclude or diagnose or peel this onion back anymore. This system is severely undercharged to the point where we're probably not getting any oil back, which is why our discharge superheat is through the roof, but also the quality of vapor sucks. And I have 0 subcooling on my liquid line at this point in time, and it actually stays that way. It's maybe 2, it's maybe 3. It's that, quality of liquid over time that tells us and seals the deal here to show us that it's really a problem. Whew, man, I need a cigarette after this one, but I don't smoke. So this is discharge superheat, suction superheat, subcooling, how you use it in Service Checker to diagnose a heating problem. Zach, thank you for sending me this data, man. It's changed my life. Hopefully it's changed yours. There's more to come like this. So if you like this content, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. But again, this is how we diagnose service checker issues. This is how we work through service checker issues. It's taking one bite at a time on one thing at a time and looking how it progresses over time in a system. Notice how he sent me 15 hours of data and not 20 minutes or 15 minutes. I can't tell you anything in 15 minutes. Wait, well, why? Well, why is that, Roman? Okay, well, let me take this really quick and let's see. Okay, here you go. Here is the data you sent me for 10 minutes, right? Man, yeah, yeah, this really paints the picture for me. That's why when we record data, guys, as technicians, more. I want more. We need more, right? You see how quickly I got there? And this has just been 40 minutes, and I just showed you and peeled back the onion for checking four-way valves, for checking discharge superheat, for checking suction superheat, for checking subcooling, that the liquid line just turned into a low pressure line. Just like your brain is exploding out of the front of your mind. These are the things that we should be checking, and this is why having the right amount of data is also equally important. You can't determine anything in this small window. It's the big picture that we're looking for. This is how I get a solid, quick diagnostic on something. I let it record for 24 hours, 15 hours, 10 hours, not 15 minutes, guys. Come on. I get you want to go to the call, you want to go home, but these things matter. So, whoo! All right, so 41 minutes. I hope you guys liked it. I guess I will see you on the next one. And hey, don't forget to send me some more data. I appreciate it, guys. Bye.